Who is your favorite person to wrestle?
Oh man. Ooh, I might make some people mad. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing to you the Dreadlock Demolition Machine, the super heavyweight ace of the Carolinas. I am Bojack. How are you guys doing?
Doing great, man.
Doing good,
Glad to
man.
have you
Glad to
on.
have
Thank you for
you.
being with us. All right,
Of
so
course. Thank you guys for having me.
yeah, man, not a problem. You're awesome, man. I mean, I watch you multiple times a month as well as live. So yeah, great to have you on here. So let's just jump right into it. What would you consider to be one of your worst road stories?
So I don't have a lot of them because I do travel with like a really good like close group of guys. So like even when we're having the worst time ever, we tend to make fun out of most of our situations. Most of my road stories are honestly just like pro wrestling is so funny in which travel me and my buddy Phoenix Nitro were talking about this other day. I question how back in the day, like before GPS, they were able to like make these shows on time, because I feel like that is a lot of wrestlers biggest trife these days, is trying to make it to a show on time. Me, Diego Hill, Dylan Crossley, and I believe Tinchi X was with us. We left. We had a show. I want to say it was like 6, 7 hours away somewhere in South Carolina. So we left at least an hour or two early, maybe a little more than that, maybe like three, because this is like one of our first times. This was Pro Wrestling Turbo, one of our first times wrestling there, and we wanted to be there on time, make a good impression, all that jazz. So we leave. Tinchi forgot his, or no, Dylan Crossley forgot his wallet back at my house. We had to turn around, go back to the house. I ended up having left some of my stuff here too. So we all were just not operating already. We get going. We stop to get like breakfast somewhere. That I think we're just at like McDonald's or like Bojangles or something. That took like 30, 45 minutes for no reason. We get like 4 hours into the drive and we hit the worst bit of traffic, like accident traffic that I've ever seen. That holds us up like another hour or two. So at this point, I'm like messaging the promoter. I'm like, all right, guys, look, we are on the way. I promise. We're on the way. But everything is stopping us today. He's like, all right, no, that's fine. That's cool. Just take your time. No rush. I'm like, all right, cool. So call time, I believe, was 3. We didn't end up getting there until about 5:30. I was like, all right, like we still got some time before doors. I think doors opened at 6. So I was like, all right, we still got time. I was like, what match are we? It was me and Diego against Patrick Scott and Chance Riser. I was like, what match are we? Like, we're not like that early, right? They're like, you guys are 1. I was like match 1. Yeah, you guys are match 1. I was like, is there any way that we could at least be bumped to match 2? So thankfully they at least bumped us to match 2. Me and Diego, like literally as soon as we pull in, we're freaking getting our gear on and like taping up and stuff, and we're calling stuff with Patrick and Chance as we're getting our gear on. We ended up having a pretty good match. We just recently wrestled like last weekend, or not week, like almost a month ago now. It was like 2 or 3 weeks, and we ended up having an even better match than that first one we had. But nah, that yeah, in terms of bad road stories, that was probably the worst one, just because we were so prepared. We thought we were so prepared, and then just life just showed us how ill prepared we were for that day.
Um, totally get that, dude. Nothing worse than like any kind of road trip and then just being so behind due to just traffic and random things that are totally out of your control. I get
So
it.
awful, so awful.
I get it, man. Like especially you said it was earlier into you guys' career, so it makes it even worse.
Yeah. This was yeah. It was like one of the first times we'd ever worked Pro Wrestling Turbo. Me and Diego had just really started doing like tag team stuff at the time, so But nah, it all ended up working out.
Good deal, good deal. All right, so on that note, we'll jump right into your good road story.
A good road story. Again, same crew. This was me, Dylan Crossley. I think Diego Hill. I think we were the only three. We were going to Firestar Pro Wrestling. We just had a really. This is the total opposite of that last story, and everything just so happened to go our way. We left on time. We had an easy day. We get to the venue like super early. There's nobody there except for like LeBron Kozo and obviously the guy who owns and operates Firestar. We're like, hey, we didn't plan to get here this early. Can we just like roll around in the ring and stuff? And he's like, oh, and Aaron Cox. Aaron Cox was with us too. I was like, can we just like get in the ring and like kill some time? He was like, yeah, sure, why not? So we all kind of just like start running our own like little mini training session and like start chaining and stuff. We end up having like a really fun like half of a match just because like I feel like just like the no pressure of it all was very relaxing. Just being able to like, oh, we're already here, we're ready to go. Me and Diego had easy matches that night, so there wasn't too much to think about. We had so much time to kill that like we had that little baby training session. We're like, we're gonna go get food. We left, found this really cool spot called Kickback Jacks out in like the Greensboro-ish area. There's a bunch of them all over, but this is the first time we'd ever gone there, and we fell in love immediately. We go there every time we're out that way. Get back to the venue, still had more time to kill. Me and Diego, like I said, we had easy matches, had a bunch of time to put our matches together and stuff. We show went great, matches went great. We get on the road, we make it back home before too late. I think that their show was on a Saturday, so then we had Sunday to just kind of like relax. So yeah, not too interesting of a good road story, but like in my opinion, the road stories that cause the least amount of stress. That's that's a good one for me.
Nah, I totally get it, man. Like they said, the good road story is what you believe is a good road story. And I'm not gonna lie, dude. You got there early, was able to do what you wanted to do. Very relaxed day. I couldn't say that's a bad road story. So I'm with it. I'm with it.
Low stress, low tolerance.
Yeah.
Yeah. You really can't ask for anything better.
Yeah. You're talking to two people that have some travel underneath them. So I
Yeah.
totally get it. Yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, man. I mean, you said that was a Saturday show. You didn't do Sunday. I've seen you multiple times where I've seen you like 2 nights in a row, like especially doing some wild stuff, like a
Man,
GCW show and then an AML show, like back to back. Like,
those have definitely become more frequent recently, and it can be very taxing. But I feel like those make the best weekends and the best experiences is when you do have like those kind of back to back. It's like one night I'm having an 8-man tag against Lucky Ali and George South is in there and trying and beating us over the head with kendo sticks. And then the next night I'm wrestling. I don't even remember who. I think I was in a triple threat the next. I was in a triple threat with Lee Johnson and Billy Brash.
yeah.
So yeah, a really wild like back to back few days.
Yeah, that was dope. I remember that was pretty cool because I just remember being like, I saw you that night and I totally forgot that you're gonna be there the next night. And when I saw him, I was like, man, this dude's a workhorse. Like he's just putting in the time. So
Yeah.
awesome.
I mean, I've only been watching wrestling for about 2 years, and Dan and I have been going to shows together for about that long, and I have seen you by far more than any other wrestler. You have been booked on every indie show I've been to except for 2.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
yes, like I have seen you more than anyone. So like I was really excited to have you on the show today because just like I'm a big fan.
Oh,
Big
Well,
fan.
I appreciate that. I had a lot of very good teachers and role models growing up and also coming up in wrestling. And they always just instilled in me that like if you want the best out of whatever you're putting your time into, you got to work super hard. And obviously, I call myself a machine and I call myself an ace, stuff like that. You got to earn those nicknames. Obviously, performance is part of that, but also putting the time in and putting the work in, and being the grind and making those shows like that. That's another aspect of it that I feel like people don't think about as much. But now I love it though. I love getting to travel. I love seeing all my friends. We'll be in South Carolina one day, we'll be in Georgia the next day.
Yep,
I love
yep.
that stuff. I love it.
Man, I'm still trying to get a good video of you pouncing somebody, dude. Every time I try to get that video, the cameraman is like right in front of me. And I'm like, come on,
And
man. Like,
and I'll say, in your defense, they usually come like pretty out of nowhere.
yeah, they
So you
do.
don't have a lot of time to prepare for it.
And then I thought you were gonna get John with the pounce Sunday, and he sidestepped you, and I was like, "Oh, come on!" Like it was the first
I
time.
was
Man.
trying. I was trying.
I was like,
Yeah.
He had it scouted, man. John Scott
yeah,
was
he
a smart
did. I
guy.
was like, John snuck away. I was positive. I was like, John's about to get pounced right now.
I'll get him. I'll get him someday. I'll get him someday soon.
All
That's
right,
awesome.
so I'm gonna let Angel take it away. She's gonna hit you up with some questions.
We just have a short list of questions that we like to ask everybody. The first one I want to ask you is, do you have like a go-to place to get food when you're out traveling?
So it definitely depends on the area. So like I said, if we're ever in the Greensboro sort of like whitish area, we always try to find a Kickback Jacks. There's not a ton of them, but there's a fair amount of them. So if there's one that's like, our cap is like 20 minutes, and it depends on like how early the show is, when there are matches, all that other jazz. It's like, look, we'll drive 20 minutes away for a Kickback Jacks, but that's the max. If I'm in Tennessee, there's this really good spot called City Cafe. They have by far the thickest menu I've ever seen in my life. They have breakfast, they have Italian, they have seafood, they have basically everything that you can think of, and all their food is so good. I don't get to Tennessee a lot, but whenever I do, we always make a City Cafe stop. There was a spot that I went to in Georgia called Smoky Bones that is like ribs, wings, burgers. That's one of our new favorite spots. And then other than that, I think we just try to keep it quick. And like I said, depends on like, if we're kind of, relaxing or hanging out in the area for a few days, and we'll try to find something that's not, the usual like McDonald's, Hardee's, Wendy's, the stuff that we can get at home. But sometimes it is just like, hey, we don't have a lot of time. We got to get something quick and reliable so we can get it and get out of there. But no, if we're further away from home, we definitely try to find a more local spot.
Nice. Yeah. I used to travel a lot, and my husband and I, we would always try to find like a local spot wherever we were. So yeah, I totally get that. That's where you find the best food. Just some
The
hole in the
best
wall.
food.
Just ask a local, like, where do you like to eat? And that's where I want to go. So yeah, I totally get that. That's awesome.
Mhm.
And those were restaurants that I had never heard of. The next question I have for you is a two-part question. We want to know, who was your first favorite wrestler and who's your current favorite wrestler?
Ooh, okay, this is an easy one. So my first favorite wrestler was easily The Undertaker. I got into wrestling through the video games. I was always a video game kid. So I'd like go down to my neighbor's house down the road, and we would just play SmackDown versus Raw. The first one we played was like 7, 8, 9, 10. Undertaker was always my dude. He always had really good stats, and all his moves are really cool. And I think he was one of those first guys that like clued me into the fact that wrestling is more than just like, I consider wrestling a sport, but the Undertaker was one of those first guys to me that made me realize that wrestling is even more than just a sport. It's a performance. You really have to like put yourself into the role of being a totally different person than who you are sometimes. So he's always been one of my favorites. My current favorite is a wrestler from New Japan named Shingo Takagi. I first discovered him in 2018 or 2019. I started watching New Japan in about 2015ish, whenever they first got on like Access TV. So I was already that was already becoming my like go-to wrestling to watch. And then I saw Shingo whenever he debuted, and I was drawn in immediately. And I try to not just like do everything he does. It's very tempting because he's very cool and he does a lot of really cool stuff. But I was already sort of considering doing like a lariat for like a big move, and then he has one of the best lariats in wrestling, and I was sold. So like him, Stan Hansen, JBL, the all like big lariat guys. So I was like, yeah, that's one of the moves I do now. It's locked in for me. But now again, like just the way he carries himself, he's just got a sort of larger than life feel on him, and moves well for like, kind of a stockier guy, which I think I also try to adapt into my own move set. So yeah, so first favorite wrestler, Undertaker, current favorite wrestler, Shingo Takagi.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, Takagi, excuse me, is yeah, great. I just recently discovered him, and yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah, same.
Um,
I don't have a lot of like dream matches, but if I had to pick like one guy as like a dream match, then it'd probably be Shingo right now.
That'd be dope.
yeah, that'd be really awesome. Who is your favorite person to wrestle?
Oh man. Ooh, I might make some people mad. I have two answers for different reasons. My first one would be Diego Hill, because me and Diego have a funny relationship, because when Diego first started training at the Carolina Wrestling Academy, that's where I came in, that's where I started training. He showed up when I was about 3 or 4 years in. Immediately I was like, "Yo, this dude is really really athletic." And the first match we ended up having together was like a 5-man scramble. And we didn't do a lot, but a little bit there, I immediately felt the chemistry. And then over time, we just are anywhere we go, we end up wrestling together or teaming together to the point where we just started teaming. So us and BK Westbrook are a trio called the High Flying Star Machines. It is an amalgamation of all of our nicknames. It was very haphazardly thrown together at first, but we immediately fell in love with it. So ever since then, me and Diego have almost been inseparable, and he is genuinely one of my best friends. He's like a brother to me. I think he's someone that I can easily put a match together with because I don't have to really think about it. We have so much stuff that we do together, whether it be as a team or facing each other, that whenever we have spots in a match or we have to wrestle each other, it's like, all right, which of our like 10, 15 things that we do together are we just gonna like put and like rearrange? It's just like the back of my hand. So I know his stuff, he knows my stuff. Super easy. My other one would have to be Mason Miles. I say this because, hard enough to believe, I've only had two singles matches ever with Mason Miles. Three matches total because we just did a Cybernetica match together. But in my all of my career, all of his career, we've only had two singles matches together, and they would be what I would consider two of the best matches that I've ever had. This is also going to double for Andrew Everett because they're really in the same line of the first time I ever wrestled them. Had a really big fight feel on it for the top championship in whichever company. Andrew Everett was for DPW. Mason Wiles was for PWF. There's always that little bit of nervousness when you're facing somebody for the first time, just because you're still having to learn each other's tendencies. Like even if you're in the same company, even if you guys are friends, you're still being in there is totally different than just watching. The chemistry between myself and Mason and myself and Andrew Everett is unthinkable without like, we laid out what we felt like was, oh, this is going to be a good match, and then we get out there, and then it's just like the atmosphere feels good. We're on the same page on everything. Everything is going even better than what we thought. Some stuff doesn't go exactly how we planned it, but it kind of turns out better than what we originally planned in the first place. Some of my best matches I've ever had have been with Andrew Everett and Mason Miles. And I've only faced them in singles matches twice. So I really like a third with with both of them. Whenever I am facing Mason again soon. I'm having my first cage match ever, August 19th at PWF in Newport, North Carolina. We're having our third match for the PWF Undisputed Championship. You know, obviously, I'm hoping we can find the same magic that we found on the first two. But yeah, so I kind of cheated and I kind of have three answers for this, but they're all for different reasons. Mason Miles, Diego Hill, Andrew Everett.
No, I get it, and I understand that, man. What's funny to me is like when you chose Mason. I love Mason. I think the dude is great, but like that's like an odd couple to me. Like you're like tall, big guy, and like we all know Mason. He's our short guy. He's really small, but yeah, he's a little powerhouse though.
I think that's why the me and Mason combo surprises a lot of people because, like, on paper, it's not an ideal matchup, but whenever we get in there, it's like magic. So it's weird, but it's fantastic.
Yeah, we're big fans of Andrew too, man. I think that dude's awesome. I love when like he pulls out when he pulls out his moves, like his moonsault and stuff like that. It's always like you never see it coming, and you're like, dude, yeah, this guy can go.
I think the cool thing about Andrew too is that I was a little bit of a fan of his before we had our match, just because like he's a Carolina guy. He came from like kind of the same area and like the same upbringings that I was in. He wrestled in PWF. I didn't know that until I had started training and I just got like super nerdy and started studying everything. I was like, oh my God, Andrew Everett wrestled for my home promotion. That's crazy. Yeah, so I was a little starstruck going into that one, but we're good friends now, so that's cool.
Do you have a Ricky Morton story?
Actually,
do you have one you can tell?
Yes, I do have a Ricky Morton story I can tell. So I don't remember the weekend, but it was sometime over the recent like summer into fall. Colby Carino was working for NWA at the time, and he invited myself, Diego Hill, Tinchi X, and Dylan Crossley to come and just do like backstage stuff, security work, just whatever, just be hands on. They had like a 4-day set. They had a pay-per-view, they had a taping at the pay-per-view venue, then they had another set of tapings at like their studio in Nashville, and they had another day of taping. So the first 2 days, those go by good. Those are fun. We get to the first Nashville taping. It's me and it's Dylan Crossley, and we're just walking around, just exploring. This is the first time we'd ever been in a studio like this. It's super professional looking, really crazy to see like how it all looks in person. I've met Ricky Morton before. We've ran into Ricky a few different times, because he just works the Carolinas a lot. He works, WrestleCade sometimes. I had already known Ricky. We're good friends with Carrie. I think this might have been Dylan's first time meeting Ricky. And Ricky showed us to this room in the studio where they make like storms and like special effects and stuff. And I was just like, what is happening in my life I'm at some random studio in Nashville and Ricky Morton is showing me a special effects room. I think the funniest part of the story, Dylan is a huge Carolina Hurricanes fan, the hockey team. And so he has this Carolina Hurricanes hoodie that he always wears. And when he first introduced himself to Ricky looks down at his sweatshirt. He's like, Carolina Hurricanes. What in the F is that? And then Dylan's like, oh, it's a hockey team. And Ricky's just like, never been much of a fan of hockey, and kind of walks away. And we, to this day, clown Dylan for Ricky Morton crapping on him for liking hockey.
I've met Ricky a few times, man. He is definitely a character. I love running into that guy.
I love him. Love him.
Final question. If you could only watch one wrestling match for the rest of your life, what match would that be?
All right. So I, funnily enough, think about this all the time because I'm actually asked this question pretty often, either just in conversation or like podcast. My favorite match of all time is a 4-way match that happened in, I think, 2009 in Chikara over the weekend of King of Trios. It was El Generico, Nick Jackson, Jigsaw, and Kota Ibushi in an elimination like 4 corners 4-way match. The first time I had ever seen this, I'd seen like 2 clips of it just randomly watching some of those like compilations of just like, oh, crazy spots from wrestling matches. So I finally found the whole match because Chikara just has it free on their YouTube. And I was really big fan of all of the guys in this match. I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. And it is the most watchable match I have ever seen. If you're into that sort of style, I will say it's a bit more of like a fast paced, kind of like spotty. I don't like that phrase, but like spotty kind of match. But it's the most watchable match I've ever seen. A lot of these guys were in their prime and they just go in and they just hit their best hits. And it's a super fun watch. I've probably watched it at least 30 to 40 times. It's like one of my
Wow.
go-tos. I put all my friends onto it if they've never seen it before. So that's easily my favorite match that I've ever seen.
That's really interesting. Okay, I haven't really watched much, if any, Chikara at all. So let me make sure I have this right because I'm trying to write it down. El Generico, Nick Jackson, Kota Ibushi, and who was the fourth one?
Jigsaw.
Jigsaw. Only one I'm not terribly familiar with. Like the other
He
three
was
names
a
I know.
So he was a big Chikara guy. Yeah, the other 3 guys kind of like came from different spots, but Jigsaw was a big Chikara guy.
Okay.
Jakob Hammermeyer is my main head trainer, and he was also a big Chikara guy. So that kind of was like a big like mark out moment for me when I first started training because I just was just a big Chikara kid. I don't even remember how I discovered Chikara, what Chikara was, but I was a big Chikara kid. They do a lot of wackier stuff, and like almost everybody has a mask. But I was always a big fan of Chikara stuff, and I ended up wrestling Jigsaw during my first reign as PWF champion because obviously Jakob is a Chikara guy, and him and Jigsaw were friends. He was able to bring him in for a show. When he told me the match, I was like, nah, that's not true. There's no way I'm wrestling one of the dudes that was in my favorite match that I've ever seen. That match is on YouTube if you guys want to check it out. Me versus Jigsaw from PWF WrestleMania in 2021, I think it was.
Oh, I'll definitely check it out. Yeah. No, that's
Mhm.
awesome. Yeah, I remember like when I was messaging you and I told you that you're like, oh, I already got that one. I'm like, what? I'm like, this is gonna be awesome.
Yeah,
So yeah.
easy money. I just hold on real quick. I just thought of something. Talking about Dylan Crossley, I just remembered one more story that I need to put out there because I love him to death. One of my favorite things to do is to mess with him whenever he messes up because he is the hardest working little boy and he is the sweetest. So this is an addendum. This is an add-on to my worst road story. So there was one show I had just worked UPW in Raleigh, North Carolina. This is their first show, went really good. I probably wrestled a total of 30 minutes probably because I wrestled Gabriel Kai in like a 15-minute singles match. And then there was a battle royal that was supposed to happen later in the show. Or no, so there was a battle royal for the UPW championship, which I am the UPW champion. There's a battle royal for the UPW championship. I was like, man, I'm already gonna be out there. Like, why don't we just do it after my match? Because I'm an idiot, and that's how I think. Definitely is like, nah, yeah, let me get like a match to take a breather. I was like, we'll just do it after my match. I'll already be out there, bro. It doesn't matter. So I stayed in the ring for like another 15, 20 minutes for this battle royal. So the show ends, and we were supposed to, after the show, hang out with our buddy BK Westbrook the next day. He lives in like Youngsville ish, so it's like not Raleigh, but sort of like the country of Raleigh. The show's over. We're in the car. We got our food. Dylan's driving, and I'm like, hey, how long does it say before we get to BK's? And he's about an hour and a half. Now, I will preface this by saying I'm very bad at geography. This does not sound right in my head, but Dylan knows what he's doing. He's a smart kid. He drives all the time. I was like, that seems a bit long, but whatever. I'm gonna take a nap. He was like, all right, cool, because I had been like going all day. So I go to sleep. I wake up. I was like, "Hey, Dylan, how far are we from BK's?" He's, "We're about like 30 minutes out." I was like, "All right, cool." Text BK. I'm like, "Hey, man, we're about 30 minutes from your place." He's like, you guys are probably gonna beat me there. I'm still on my way home. He was in Winston-Salem, the NWA show that happened that same night. He's like, I'm still on my way home. So y'all probably beat me there, but just let me know when you get there. We're like, all right, cool. So I go back to sleep and I wake up and the car is stopped. We are definitely not at BK Westbrook's house. I look over at Dylan in the driver's seat, and Dylan is just sitting there with his hands on his head and his forehead against the steering wheel. And I'm like, and I'm trying to process what's happening because I just woke up. We very obviously did not crash. Everything was too calm for us to have crashed. I'm looking around. I'm like, Dylan? He's like, I messed up, bro. I was like, where are we? When typing in BK's address, he types in 40, and then it gives him what he thinks is BK's address. What we actually went to was the Mad Dog Center that AML had just run the weekend before, which is an hour and a half in the opposite direction of where we needed to go.
Oh
So
no.
I'm like, dude, what? How? It was like I just typed it in and I thought that was the right one. I was like, look, man, I'm not even mad because like, look, we don't have anything to do tomorrow. We're just hanging out. Night's over. I'm just letting you know you're driving the rest of the way to BK's house. He's like, yeah, that's fine.
Dude,
BK ends up beating us back to his house. But yeah, now we call him. I was like, Dylan really loved that Mad Dog Center, huh, buddy? Can't get enough of it.
So he drove an hour and a half, and then you guys ended up having to turn around and do another 3 hours because you had to go back the right way.
Yes.
Good stuff. Yeah, I'm sure he'll enjoy that. Now everyone's gonna find out.
I love Dylan. He's a good kid. I love him so much, and he's gonna be so mad that I talked about this. But I love him to death. He'll get over it.
What we'd like to do now is we'd like to give you a chance to like promote anything upcoming.
August 26th, I will be at Firestar Pro Wrestling Wrestling Revival. It's their big annual yearly show. I think it's Wrestle Revival 10. I'm not sure what I'm doing yet. There's a poll to see who will face Oliver Sawyer for the Southeastern title. I believe I'm winning the poll, but that could very much change by the time we get there. So we'll see how that goes. And then I have AML the day after that. So yeah, very, very, very busy August for Bojack.
Yeah, we'll definitely see you at the AML show. So
we'll be at that one.
Yep.
I will be dragging, but I will see y'all there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you are just everywhere. Like, it's crazy. Like I said, like you've been like at every indie show that I've been to except for 2 shows. One of those was an all-women show, so I wouldn't expect to see you there anyway. And either you were already on the card when we got the tickets, or you ended up on the card after we bought tickets. But I really thought, like, if I think back, you were the first indie wrestler that I had like name recognition with. Like I saw you at the first indie show and I was like, this guy's awesome. And then the second show, so you were like my first wrestler that was like, yes, this guy.
I try my best to, make it enjoyable while I throw grown men around like they're children. So.
Pretty much all we have for you, man. I think we're wrapping up just in time so you can still do your Dynamite. Yeah,
I got time. Yeah, I got time. Yeah.
Are you streaming on Twitch?
Yes. So I stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/dreadlocked. I spell dreadlock weird because I'm a gamer and I like having weird stuff. It is DRED LOCKD.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, man, appreciate it. Awesome stories. Love the extras. Like, yeah, I mean, as you can see, our questions are a little off the wall. So that's the beauty.
I know. I love it. No, I love it. Yeah.
All right, bro. Well, yeah. Enjoy the rest of your stuff. All your matches coming up. Good luck on all those. And I looking forward to seeing you again in person at the end of the month.
For sure. Yeah. Thank you guys.
All right, bud. Take care.
Have a good one.
Yes, sir.
See you later.